back. My apologies. You know what's so funny? Even as somebody who's intuitive, psychic, however you want to say, I had a feeling that I should wait until the person came this morning for the appointment. And I thought, oh, well, they're not coming till such and such time, so I have time to do this. Oh, no, they were early, right? So it's like even when it's somebody who's intuitive, right? That's receiving the message, sometimes we go against that message for whatever reason because well, logic said they're supposed to come at this time, blah blah blah. But you know the person that was here doing the work is one of those go-getter types, right? So it was not a surprise to me at all that they showed up a little bit early, right? So anyway, a real world example, okay, of using your intuition, your psychic gifts, okay, your ability to discern, right? Because there's lots of pieces of information that you possess that are going to fill in the blanks to situations, right? So that you can progress through your day. Okay. So if you did miss the first part of the reading, my apologies. You can go back and watch. It's just a short 7-minute live, say, part one of this reading. The first card out was action. The second one out, love. And the last one, freedom, symbolized by the horse here in the animal oracle card. I'm going to pull one more. The fox, which wanted to come out in reverse, clever. So is there an issue, collective, where somebody thinks you're not clever? Um, you are swift and smart. I mean, that is the thing. There are people that will underestimate the opponent, and that's why they become losers in the situation. When you underestimate your opponent, then, you're not going to really be prepared very well. So just because somebody doesn't appear to be, like a gangbanger or doesn't appear to be a stuffy professional, right? Doesn't mean they're not educated in the ways of the world, in the world that they know, right? Um, there's many people out there who change. There's a famous movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley, right, where he kind of changes and tries to take over somebody else's identity, right? There's people that do that all the time in an inauthentic way, right? Okay. So you, though, collective, are swift and smart. Solutions to problems are easily found. Always listen to that. Always listen to your instincts. Like a real world example I just started off with, okay? Resources surround you. Be open to romance. Okay, as you can see, there's two foxes here, right? Maybe you're going to find somebody just as clever as you. Is that why it came out in reverse? Because it's like nobody can keep up with you. You are an old soul. Your best friend is nature. Use your intuition. Awaken to the powerful forces within you. You are meant to create blessings with your magic. Okay. So, collective, if you've been sowing some seeds of doubt, if you've had that kind of some old paradigm of you can't do this because you don't have this degree, or you don't have that experience, or you didn't grow up here with me and so and so and so, forget all that. Forget all of it. Okay, because the person or people that are interested in advancing themselves, right, and developing themselves are going to listen to what you're doing, to what you have to say. Because guess what? Everybody's already heard all the same old excuses of why can't, right? Maybe somebody wants to hear the possibilities. And maybe you could even have a failure, right? But that doesn't mean that somebody else listening might not be able to help you and then turn it into a success, especially if you're approaching it in a different way. All right. That's part of this cleverness here, right? That's part of loving yourself and giving yourself that chance, that opportunity where, other people might just say, oh, you're wasting your time, right? Maybe people say you're wasting time watching tarot. Oh, and you could be. I don't know your personal situation, right? If you're watching so much tarot that you can't, pay your bills on time or get to work, or do you know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, then maybe it's an unhealthy thing. Just like too much eating can be, right? But we still need to eat to survive, right? We need to have these spiritual conversations with ourselves at times, but as the moon reminds us, it's time to let go of some of those things, right? Um, it's our garbage pickup today, tomorrow. There were some things that I had kind of organized in my garage a few weeks ago that are kind of like in a takeaway box. It's not in the trash, it's sitting next to the trash on the curb in case anybody wants to go through it, right? Releasing, letting go, giving yourself freedom to move as you choose, not how others want you to move. Okay. All right. I'm gonna light up this Palo Santo a little bit, just because we did have the slight interruption today. Although he showed me their new dog that they just got, and he mentioned that it came from a Spanish speaking house. So that could be entertaining, right? Seeing what words your dog knows in Spanish. And a lot of animals do get trained in other languages, so it's not exactly uncommon, right? Just as we have come from somewhere, our animals have come from somewhere as well. And um, they really make it interesting for us because their ability to communicate is so much different than ours. Um, when you're talking about everyday stuff, your dog's not typing up an email, you know. That's not how they're communicating to you. Does that mean that what they're saying is unimportant? No. Somebody else may be like, oh, well, it's just unintelligible barking. Yeah, to somebody else, but maybe to you, when you hear that animal, day in and day out, you're like, oh, well, that means they kind of want to, like maybe that means they want to go out, or that means they're looking for a snack, or that means, I mean, um, so think about what that can teach you about, say, nonverbal communication as a whole. Okay, they say 80% of our communication is nonverbal. All right. So when you think about these animal oracles, think about, the actions that you're taking that don't need words, right? Sometimes it's just about putting your head down and getting it done. Okay. Let's see what else here to get into today. Let's go ahead and get this ethereal vision stick out here. And just an FYI, the Ethereal Visions is an 80 card tarot deck. Most are 78, all right? can't remember how many cards a Lenormand deck has, but just be aware of that if you are somebody that's getting into tarot or oracle cards. Sometimes it's up to the discretion of the creator um, how that is packaged, but a traditional tarot has 78 cards, okay? So let's see what the collective needs to know along with this message today. Ooh, the Four of Wands. Happy day. This came out in one of my last readings. So yeah, you are actioning on your happy ending. Boom, boom. You're like, I'm getting it done. The Moon card, although it wanted to come out in reverse, Pisces, okay? So giving yourself that extra love. And maybe it came out in reverse because somebody's like, no, I don't want you to be able to do that for yourself, right? It's like, because once you're taking that way away from them, right? And then you're like, oh, no, 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 right? But it's like, but you have every right to um, contemplate, to, sit and take a breather, to not answer the phone. You know what I mean, collective? You don't owe anybody your time, especially if they're not paying you to do any work. All right? So, that's why I feel like this came out in reverse is you're kind of checking those obligations at the door and saying, you know what? I'm the one that runs this ship day or night, right? And if you want to cross this threshold, look, you're going to have to be as big and bad as the moon, okay? If you want to be coming stepping up here and bossing people around, right? You know what I mean? Some people think they can slap on a uniform and it means they have street cred. And it's like, you know what? That's when you get those conversations people be like, well, you were in diapers when I was doing this and this. You know what I mean? Cuz it's like, yeah, that's great, but right. So that's kind of the opposite of the people that say, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that." Well, those might be some of the same people. It may be a different set of people. But at the same time, you may be telling some of those people, yeah, I've seen how you do it your way. I'm good on that. So if you don't mind, I got things to talk about with the moon over here. I was just watching that movie. I've seen it 100 times probably by now. The Man in the Moon has Reese Witherspoon in it when she was younger. Her and her sister like fall in love with the same boy, neighbor boy, and one of the lines in the movie was her. They say, "Remember when Mom told us that if you have something troubling you, just go talk to the Man in the Moon." Right? Because sometimes we don't necessarily want to share with others. Maybe it's difficult, but you can gaze up into that sky and kind of let your troubles out, right? And see when this came out in reverse, it's like you've been holding it in, right? You don't have to hold it in. The moon's not going to get mad at you, right? And sometimes that's part of expressing ourselves, right? Because it's like we'll say what's going on and then people want to say, well, why didn't you do this and why didn't you, and you're just like, it just turns into this victim blaming, like bash on the victim or bash on the person having the problem, right? When all they're trying to do is just communicate. Well, maybe you just need to communicate to somebody who's not going to be coming at you like that, right? Anyway, I was happy for that guy. I came had to do the work on the house because he was. Did I already tell you? He showed me a picture of their new dog they adopted. I guess they had to put their their older dog down. So they had already adopted one. I guess they said they were doing like IV treatments for like kidneys failure and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, that's quite a lot, right? Um, so I'm happy with them that they were able to get a new pups to love on, right? That's part of the freedom of moving forward, right? And it's not saying we're not replacing our old dog, we're getting a new dog, right? Nothing can ever replace the love that you had for somebody, for a certain place, for a thing, right? But can you add to that? Yes, you can, right? That's why there's a lot of those, like you see when somebody breaks up with somebody and then like the next day they're online posting pictures of themselves with whoever and wrapped up like pretzels loving on each other like it's just the newest thing since sliced bread, and you're just like, okay. To me, people that do that are kind of like showing like, well, I can replace you, right? It's not like they just happened into this relationship and now they're experiencing love, right? No, it's some people think they can do that and that they're going to be happy, and then they find out they're going to be sitting there talking to the moon just like you are, collective, right? You know, right? Logic says I don't want to be alone, right? But sometimes we are alone. It's okay to be alone. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. People that need to be around other people constantly, maybe there's something wrong with them. Because it's like, what validation are they seeking, right? Okay, let's keep going. I think that gives you plenty enough to think about, right? But again, the full moon, a time for releasing those burdens. Maybe it's time to stop ruminating about um, X, Y, and Z that went wrong. Maybe it just did. It just did. Oh well, right? There are no real guarantees in life. I was watching this. The Family Feud host has his own like show, and it was a clip from his show, and the lady was saying, I'm dating somebody right now, but and we want to get engaged and get married, but my family doesn't want me to get married until I finish school. Um, and so she was asking him for advice, and he's like, look, there's people that are already successful and they come together and then they end up divorced. There's folks who start with nothing and build together and become successful later in life. Like he's like, there is no real guarantee. Sometimes you do have to spin that wheel, right? You do have to take a chance. It's, what are you prepared to settle for, right? And if somebody's not willing to stand up and fight alongside you and achieve alongside you, it's like, do they really deserve to be there with you? Okay. So that's part of the freedom, collective, I feel like that you also have is, and what's really interesting too is that the full moon in Sagittarius, well, Sagittarius represented by the half man, half horse. So it's like, you know, your mind might be elsewhere at times, but there's still something driving you. Okay. So, yeah, this Eight of Cups, it's like you might be contemplative a little bit. This full moon may bring forth some emotions. And again, an emotional release. What do you need to release to free yourself so that you don't have these, say, heavy thoughts anymore? Right? You're like, how many times do I need to go on this soul searching journey, right? And then you're just like, look, I'm good on it. At a certain point we just say it is what it is, right? And if other people don't like it, that's their path to choose. So don't let these full moon energies like bog you down where it may literally be kind of somebody else's worry. Okay. Three of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like collective, you have a lot of work to do. People recognize your skill set here with your cleverness. Okay. Yeah, and this Nine of Swords when I come out in reverse, like there's nothing that's really stressing you out that you can't move forward. It's like you have this protection here. Okay. Yeah, personal choice. I mean, there was somebody I'm acquainted with that made a mention of, say, discovering that they may have some other siblings because, Papa was a Rolling Stone type thing, right? And I said, it's a choice. And it is. Some people can handle it, some people can't. There's a very famous novel that I had a big problem with reading, called, it's very famous, called On the Road. And I had to set it down and I was unable to finish the book because I became so um, incensed by the actions of some of the characters who really were based on real people. And, some of that was, running away from responsibilities, right? Um, and it's like, is that what you want for yourself? You know, some people don't want to be in that. And that's okay. You can't force other people to do that, but they can't force you to act like them either. Remember that. All right? They might try and judge you for not doing what they do, and you're like, you know what? We all say we're not supposed to be not judgy, right? Right? And then you can say, well, guess what? I'm using my discernment of that judgment. I'm using the discernment piece of my judgment, and I'm not engaging in stupid behaviors as other people may be doing. And no, I don't need a degree from wherever, and I didn't need to grow up in this neighborhood, and I didn't need to watch this documentary series in order to come to that conclusion. Right? Well, talk to me when you've read this. No, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay? And collective, then you got to ask yourself, you're like, why am I even entertaining this at all? Right? And I have this new message board I put up here. See if I can show you this. It has the written on here. Oh, I can see it. Yeah. Well, it has the lyrics are from a boy band, the New Kids on the Block, right? And it said I wrote down the right stuff. That was coming through the other day. They had this song called "The Right Stuff," and it's like, "You got the right stuff, baby," right? Um, and yeah, a lot of people recognize that you do have the right stuff, right? And it's like they're just trying to use your stuff to manipulate it, right? So that they can achieve their dreams instead of your dreams, right? So again, this freedom here, the freedom to choose and the freedom to follow your own dreams. You know, when I mentioned to one of my relatives that I had gotten a guitar, this was years ago. When I had gotten a guitar, I was learning guitar, and they were like, "Well, you're not going to be playing like so and so," and it's like, I didn't respond to that comment at the time, but it was just like, I don't want to be playing like so and so. Like my goal is not to become somebody else. My goal is to become me. You know, um, some folks are not able to function without the blinders, without the guidelines of other people, and that's their own codependency to work through. Right? That's them needing to go and get some therapy. Okay. You know what I mean? And literally, do not let these people put words into your mouth because they will try. I remember being interviewed by a nurse one time. I was recommended, like, I had to wait like months to even get into this place, right? Thinking I was going to see an actual psychiatrist. No, I saw the nurse who reports to one of the psychiatrists there, and she started filling out a 10-question worksheet of yes and no, asking me some of these asinine things, and then like nodding her head and like practically filling it out for me. And I was, yeah, there were a couple times when I was like, no, and I've never done that, and I was like, no, that's not me at all. But she was like ready to write down, yes, it was. And it's like, bitch, you don't know how to do your fucking job, do you? That's when I realized they have an agenda. And then guess what? At the end of that appointment, I had a brand new diagnosis that nobody had ever given me before. Right, exactly. A diagnosis from a nurse filling out a worksheet that couldn't even fill it out properly? Like, I'd rather go back to the Facebook quiz, right? Do you know what I'm saying? This is like how scientific some of these people are, but yet they have titles, don't they? Yeah, they do, right? I mean, have you ever met some of your peers? I mean, this one coworker I had, I could tell you some of the backstory, but here's the bottom line. As an adult, okay, we're at a work function. I wouldn't say, it's not on work property, but it's, all our coworkers. And this particular person, um, they just thought that every dude wanted to be getting rubbed up on by their breasts. And the drunker they got, the worse they got, and they just kept rubbing their boobs on all these dudes. And you could tell after a while there were several of these dudes that were just like super uncomfortable because this is somebody that they work with, for one, and two, maybe they didn't like him like that, right? But that didn't stop the person doing it because they're like, oh, you like it, all guys like this. No, they fucking don't. Open up your fucking eyeballs, you dumb cunt. You're not the center of the fucking universe, lady. Go think on that. Go think on that. Okay? You call that freedom or what? Right? And again, and people do this stuff because they think that's what people want. They're doing it because they think that's what people actually want. And then you see some of these people and they're like cringing, and then you realize it's like, no, yeah, like they were happy before so and so came along rubbing up on them. Okay? You know, so if you think that dudes cannot be sexually harassed, yes, they can. Yes, they can. And it is just as cringy and gross as it is when a dude is doing it. Like, okay, you got tits, you got ass, so does a lot of other people, honey. You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one in town. And guess what? These days you can go buy all that stuff. And before they did the plastic surgeries, they were stuffing the bras and padding the asses before then too. So you ain't figuring out nothing fucking new. So collective. When people want you to act like that, and you're like, no, that's going to be outside the gates. That's going to be on the other side of the road. That's going to be like, you know what I'm saying? Not in your wheelhouse, not on your street, not on your motherfucking cul-de-sac. Go hop in somebody else's fucking hot tub, bitch. I don't fucking care. I don't. Here we go. 7 of Cups. All right. This is what I'm saying. It's like there's always going to be choices presented to you. There's people that want, you know, just like that. What is that game show, right? Let's make a deal. Ooh, behind this one, behind this one, behind this one. Then you have all the people in the eyes. Hey, hey, hey. Some people actually live their life like that, right? Like not just a game show. Okay? Some people actually live their life like that, right? But collective, what you've been taking action on is making those dreams come true, right? Whereas like it's like you're the host now, you know? You already made your deal and you made the deal with God. Some of these other folks, they might have made a deal with the devil, and that's why they're so stressed out. They are so stressed out about making the right move because they realize they're running out of time. They're running out of time to do the right thing. They should have done it a long fucking time ago when they were taught the first 1,500 fucking times. Right? And they still want to sit up here and cry and be like, oh, 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 well, I didn't have this growing up and I didn't have that growing up. Well, guess what? There's a whole lot of other people that didn't either, and none of them stormed the fucking Capitol building, did they? You know, insert dumb action here, right? What are the actions that you're taking? Huh? What's giving you fulfillment? I can guarantee you it's not sitting over at somebody else's house and wondering what they got going on. You know, I understand if you're a caretaker, you're that type of person and whatnot. You know what I mean? That might be part of your job as well. For some of you, that could be part of your spiritual journey. Uh, contributing to humanity in a caretaking type of a role, right? Just make sure you're taking care of yourself at the same time so you don't get overly stressed. You know, people that are nurses, people that are full-time caretakers, like you have to take a step away from that as well, right? You know, it's like who's making your dinner, right? Okay. Yeah, and I feel like collective, it's like somebody wants to blame you for something here, and it's just like you're gonna have to really love yourself out of that, okay? Because there are folks who will blame you for anything and everything for the end until the end of time. They will never stop. That's why it's coming out as the Ten of Wands, because those type of people will never stop at that, because they refuse in essence to take accountability for their actions. They still be sitting up there in court like those fucking Menendez kids, right? You know what I mean? Oh, they're not children, are they? No, they're not. You know, I won't watch that shit on Netflix. I'm not watching it. I'm not watching any more shit on Scott Peterson. I'm not watching anything on these fucking murdering assholes. Go find yourself a new fucking fan club, you freak. I don't want nothing to fucking do with it. What do you think about that, motherfucker? Yeah, rebuke that shit, bitch. Rebuke that shit, bitch. Hmm? Hmm? Oh, that Luigi so and so. Yeah, he was real smart, wasn't he? Yeah, well, he got fucking caught, didn't he? Go idolize somebody else next time. Everybody's got reasons. That doesn't mean actioning is always the right call, is it? And what did that man actually stop? Oh, I brought some attention. Okay, guess what? That company's still running. People still have to pay their health insurance premiums. That didn't stop. But guess what? That dude is likely gonna, that 20 some dude's likely gonna go to jail for the rest of his natural life. Yeah. You know? I'm sure he'll have all the time he wants to read his fan mail and while he's in jail. While everybody else is outside making actions towards a life that they want, a life of happiness. We're not here for very long, are we? Okay. Five of Swords. Just like I didn't get on that whatever, the lady that drove her kid up to Wisconsin, wherever. Do you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll go help you participate in this riot. Dumb. It's called being dumb. I don't care what your rights are in the situation. When you throw the, real logic out the window and say, well, but they surely wouldn't do anything to me. Well, now who's fucking dumb? Huh? I mean, and I what those LA riots? There was a reporter standing like literally right there, and what got shot in the fucking leg. They didn't have any gear on. It's like this is a fucking military practical zone there, okay? When you see those correspondents overseas, they're wearing helmets and all sorts of shit. This bitch was out there standing right in the front of the fucking. Like, really? You don't think you're gonna get hurt potentially? Oh, yes, right. What was that teacher saying? Lack of preparedness on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. Right? And then I'm sure that same, oh God, where's the emergency people? Where's the emergency people? Well, they're trying to keep the peace right now, and they're trying to stay out of the line of fucking fire. You ever hear that? Stay out of the line of fire? This ain't a video game, folks. There's real consequences out there. Open up your goddamn eyeballs. And if you think it can't happen to you, look at, some of our government officials that have been plotted against and attacked. Okay? And you would think those people have all the protection they need, right? Okay, then. Now, which side of that you want to be on? That's, again, up to you. Don't come here and blame because you watch a tarot reading that you're going to go and do some asinine shit. Because that don't make a hell of bean sense. Yeah, I pulled this Five of Swords because it's just lies. This is exactly what that sun looked like the other night, dude. I'm gonna post pictures of it on the community tab. It was, and it's like, yeah, the sun is setting on their lies. The sun is setting on their deception. This is stuff where it's like, it ain't gonna hold up in court, folks. It ain't gonna hold up in court. Okay? Stop being fucking stupid. I know a lot of people don't like the, name calling and things like that, but you know what? Stupid is as stupid does, right? Okay. If you look around and your friends are all acting like idiots constantly, maybe you need some new friends. I remember drawing this card on not this one in particular, but it was another Five of Swords, and it was for a little kid that came up to me for a reading. I was at like a carnival type thing, and I thought, well, what in the heck would some little kid need to know about a Five of Swords? So I looked at it and I said, "So who's your friends that you're running around? Who's your little friends?" He kind of looked at me like, okay. Because we can be told the right thing all day long, but as soon as you start hanging out with, you know, dippity dummy, well, guess what? You might be getting into some dumb shit too. And trust me, they are not going to be there to catch your back, are they? Oh no. Because those are the type of folks who will turn around and then sit there and blame you and say, oh, it was so and so. What? Do you want your freedom, or do you want to die on the sword of somebody else's lies? you know you start asking yourself, have you been using your discernment? Have you been using your judgment? They say, oh, don't judge, nobody can be a judge, nobody can judge. Well, yeah, I fucking can judge what comes in and out of my fucking house because I'm the motherfucker that pays the bills in this fucking place, right? I'm the judge and the jury in this bitch, right? And some of the discernment is not letting you assholes in the first place. Okay. Right? We got that clear? We got that clear yet? That's what, collective, as you get into these contracts and whoever you're working with, it's up to you. Right? Like you don't have to enter into any business partnership with nobody you don't want to. And maybe it's gonna be at a very limited basis here. Maybe you're only gonna have like one or two other people you work with, and that's it. It's like you don't need all this other stuff, because with that comes expectations that, trust me, they are not holding up the other end to, because otherwise, why are you the only one holding these goddamn wines? Yeah, Two of Cups. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, see? You have found a way, collective, to bypass whatever this is, okay? And how you've been creating, right, what you want, it's happening, right? And there's really nothing that some of these other people can do about it. Okay, so you could be involved with the King of Swords as well. They could want to give you some protection as well in some way. And maybe it's in the way of communication, as I was talking about earlier. Most communication is nonverbal. Maybe this is somebody who you can actually speak to verbally, and where it's like you can talk through the things and it's like an analysis, right? And it's not, doesn't get into the emotional, like, well, why didn't you do this at the time, and why didn't you, because guess what, that time's already fucking passed. We can't go back, right? So many people are like, well, what'd you do the last time? Lessons learned, right? We'll do it all differently the next time. That's what people like to say. Well, did you let go? Did you let go with the full moon what you didn't need? Hmm? Did you let go? Because when you let go, then you can make room for the new and start manifesting on the new. And then things will be different, right? But if you're going back to Sally and Tommy and Susie and Ricky and Bobby and Joey and Mickey and you know, it's like, well, what happened the last time when you worked with those folks? How did that happen? How did that turn out for you? Not great? Well, what do you think is going to happen this time? I'm going to guess you don't need a fucking rocket science degree, motherfucker. Do you? Someone's like, oh, they're going to use their intuition and turn down my offer with lots of money. Yeah, motherfucker, I will. Because I don't fucking need your ass. What do you think about that? Right? You know what I mean? This is kind of the attitude where how you might be approaching this. Okay? Yeah, you're coming out of this. It's like some of these people wanted you feeling like this, like in a permanence, and you're showing them, you're like, and it's scaring them because it's almost like you're the bat that fucking woke up, and then you start spreading your wings, and it's like, gah, 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 and they're like, ah, ah, right? I'm scared of it. Ah, ah. Well, don't poke the fucking bear next time. There's an idea for your dumb fucking ass, huh? Okay. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes words just can't capture, the feeling we have for certain folks. So it comes out in that way. Um, but what also comes out is, what you're working towards, right? Um, so yeah, I feel like collective for the folks that have been releasing, you're doing the right thing. Okay. Um, yeah. So let yourself be loved as well. Okay. When this full moon comes around, like, just say, yeah, this is my secret sauce. This is how I'm rocking. This is how I'm rolling. And um, for you collective, maybe freedom is that choice. Okay. So, congratulate yourself a little bit. All right. And maybe you'll find yourself celebrating with that special someone very soon. Okay. Like I said. And so, like, this, business partnering, this could be, a spouse as well, or a romantic partner. It doesn't have to be um, just a coworker or a peer or another, business associate. Just saying. Okay. Not everybody can work together in that way, right? But some people can. They make a really, really good team. Okay. So if you're somebody who has that team now, maybe that's one of those things, when you see that moon, you're just be like, you know what? Hey, this is going well, and thank you, right? Because now I have somebody who understands this and who understands this inside, right? Okay. Also, this card always reminds me of the movie Patch of Blue that has Sidney Poitier in it. Um, and I'd say that just because this other character here has lighter skin, that she doesn't look anything like the person in the movie. But anyway, it just reminds me of that. So collective, I hope you enjoyed this message. Again, there is a short part one that talks a little bit about the animal oracles, but I think overall, if you have watched through this message today, you will get what you need to out of the reading. So until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.